I was going to deliver a different talk today, but I thought this is my opportunity to introduce myself. And so I'm going to do that. And I call my talk Sitting in the Smile of God, or how I landed in the smile of God. So I'm going to tell a personal story. And so last Sunday, I was listening to Reverend Gaither, and he said that there are 3 keys to experiencing a mystical experience. And the first one is when you seek truth beyond the 5 senses. And the second one is when you cultivate a oneness consciousness, which is equal to being in love, right? A love consciousness. And then the third key is to have a practice of meditation. And so when I heard that, it suddenly became, so I had an experience in 2004. It was during meditation, and I have always called it my extraordinary peak experience, but I have a label for it now, thanks to Reverend Gaither. It's I had a mystical experience. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. So I started my meditation, and I brought with me grumpiness and complaining. This particular morning, I was not happy, but it was my time for meditation. So, I sat on my zafu and began my meditation. And all of a sudden, I shifted my attitude. And I thought of how this particular situation that made me grumpy, how it actually was a blessing. And I became so grateful for this situation, bringing me a blessing. And from that, my heart just expanded, and I started thinking about all my loved ones, my family members that are so precious. And as their faces, appeared to me in my mind, I was saying prayers for them. And then when I was kind of finished praying for my family, my friends all came forth, and I was so grateful for all of my friends. And then something really remarkable happened. Suddenly, the faces of my enemies started to show up. And I'm going, oh, what's this? And I remembered, so Jesus in the Bible, in Luke 6, verses 26 through 28, Jesus says, love your enemies. And all of a sudden, I found myself in love with my enemies. Now, let's take a minute and discuss maybe who is our enemy? Well, for me, it could be that crabby neighbor across the street who has that dog that barks all day long and all night too. And it's like, yeah, that's my enemy. It could be a friend, a very dear friend who betrayed me. Oh, that's my enemy now. Or it could be the politicians from the opposite party who got elected, and I have such disdain for them. Oh, those are my enemies. Now, how can I love any of these enemies? Well, I really don't have the answer. Well, I do have an answer, but right now I'm going to tell you that while I was sitting in meditation, all of a sudden I loved every single enemy. It just came over me, this love, this expanded heart, and going, wow. And my heart also was filled with joy. And I felt like I was sitting in a smile as big as my house. And then I thought, no, I am sitting in the all-encompassing smile of God. That's how immense it was. Now, my meditation came to an end, and so I got up and got dressed and was ready to do my daily tasks, but I still had that feeling of love and joy. And so I got on the road driving my car to go here and there. And I'll tell you what, usually I'm crabby when a slow car gets in front of me, especially when I'm in the passing lane, which by the way, in America is the fast lane, and there's a slow car in that lane, not their lane. And so, but today, I just blessed them and loved them. And the car that cut me off, whoom, I loved them. When I got to the store, I actually chose the longest line, not the shortest line. And because I could stand there in that long line and I could be blessing everybody while we all took our turn. And it's like, oh my gosh, I just love you all. I just love you all. Of course, I didn't say that. They'd think I was crazy, right? But I was thinking it and I was feeling it. So this experience lasted for 2.5 days. I could not be perturbed. Nothing upset me. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Now, isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? On the third day, that feeling started to wane. And in the evening, it kind of was gone, but the experience itself stayed, the memory of it was very much alive and affected me. It's like, oh my gosh, that I felt like I was given a peek of what heaven on earth could be when all of humanity is filled with love and joy, like all the time. And this experience, I did not do anything. I didn't earn it. I didn't do anything to deserve it. It just came upon me. And so over the years since 2004, when I had this experience, I've tried to understand what it was all about. And I've felt so blessed that I was given a peek of heaven on earth, what it could be. And so I've been very conscientious for the most part of my desire to live my life in love and joy. Now, am I always successful? I'll admit that not always. And in fact, right now I'm having difficulty with America's politics. So just saying. And I hope that doesn't offend anybody. So. How good, what I realized was that I had experienced God's grace. And it made me think, all of us, God's grace is always available to everyone at every moment, no matter what we are doing or not doing or saying. God's grace is always available to us. But most of us go around unaware of God's grace. And so how do we become aware How do we become aware that God's grace is always available to us and that we are in it now, right now, and always? Well, I thought of my experience. So if you remember, in my meditation, I started out grumpy and complaining. And then I changed my attitude and I saw that there was a blessing available to me in the very circumstance that made me grumpy. I saw a blessing there, and that made me thankful. And once I became thankful, I started thinking of all the things that I was grateful for. And while I thought of everything I was grateful for, my heart expanded. And so to me, gratitude is a key to feeling the grace, to experiencing the grace of God. And so, I know some people, I'm saying, have an attitude of gratitude all the time. And there is scripture that supports that. Now, I know some people might be thinking, probably no one in this congregation, but I know plenty of people who are thinking, my life is a mess. I have nothing to be grateful for. Are you kidding? Well, really, if we who do not have a grateful heart will think, of the smallest things that we can be grateful for, like waking up in the morning, right? Hey, I'm awake. Oh, I can climb out of bed. Yay. And in this day and age, how about a shower or a bath? We do not have to go down to the river and collect water and bring it back, and if nothing else, I am grateful for that. So there's always something to be grateful for. So here are some scriptures that support being grateful. So Apostle Paul wrote a letter to the Thessalonians, and he said, be joyful always. Pray continually and give thanks in every circumstance. For this is God's will for you in Jesus Christ. And I have to tell you, when I first heard this scripture, my question was, really? How can I be joyful always? How do I pray continuously? And how do I give thanks in every circumstance? How is this possible? And so I set out actually to discover if it is possible. And I have to tell you this little tidbit about myself. From my teen years, for decades, I actually was very deeply, frequently depressed. And I made a choice to change my life around. And I've done a 180. When I tell people how depressed I was at one time, most of them don't even believe it. But it's true, because I wanted to find out how to be joyful and how to be thankful in every circumstance. And I have to say, I found unity, and that was one of the factors in changing my life. Meditation, I learned about meditation here at Unity. So anyway, now at this dear age, I've learned a heck of a lot, and that is how to be joyful and how to be grateful and how to pray fairly constantly. So I admit sometimes I fail, but for the most part, I just, you know what? I love life. I love life. I love people. I have a strong people orientation. And I just so look forward to getting to know all of you in this congregation. I'm excited about it. So, I went off on a tangent. That's what these notes are for, to keep me on the straight and narrow. Sometimes it doesn't work. So in Psalm 118, verse 24, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So I woke up today. I packed, you can't believe how much I packed and brought from Utah. 2 big suitcases, I'll tell you. And you know what I didn't bring? Warm clothes. I heard that the summer was hot and humid. And I'm from Hawaii. I know what hot and humid is. So I'm going, ooh. Today's not a sunny day. Today is a rainy, windy, cold day. And I looked out, what is that? And you know what? My heart was filled with gratitude. It really was. It's like, oh, you know what this means? And yesterday too, And it's like, the sun isn't shining. And so I don't feel compelled to be out in the glorious sun. I get to do some inner work today. I get to prepare my talk for Sunday. I get to listen to some podcasts that are inspiring to me. It was a glorious day, a glorious day. So weather, you can be joyful no matter what the sky looks like. So, and then Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, but acknowledge God in all your ways, and straight will be made your paths. Oh boy, I use that particular scripture a lot, because don't we want to lean on our own understanding far too often, but to trust that God within us, if we will just listen, our ways are guided, that divine guidance. And when we follow it, oh my goodness, our lives are so different, right? Yeah. So I'm just looking at my notes. I don't go off on that tangent. So really, I'm going to invite all of you to this next week. Be very conscientious of how you are responding in a particular circumstance. And remember to look for the blessing in that circumstance, because that can change everything. That actually raises our consciousness, right? And when we raise our consciousness into higher frequencies, we are evolving ourselves. And that's why we're here, to evolve our consciousness. And so give thanks in every circumstance, look for the blessing, of course, and use gratitude. Have that attitude wherever you go, and consider, what would it take to be to live in gratitude and to express that. I mean, just going to the store and engaging in a lovely conversation with the cashier, that can make all the difference for that person when you give them a smile and ask how their day is, and just let them respond. So there's lots of ways that we can show our gratitude, and then we recognize that we are in God's grace. So did I cover everything? I think so. Oh, one other thing I wanted to say, when we change our consciousness into higher frequencies, you know, it's been said that you can't solve a problem at the same level that it was created, right? And so as we raise our consciousness and we align with God's will, not our ego will, when we're in alignment with God's will, oh my goodness, we get new ideas for how a God answer that we never even considered. And that's how we have resolution in our lives with our challenges. So that's it. Thank you. So let's now prepare for meditation. So I invite you to close your eyes and take your deep breaths. And we center in the knowledge that God is within us. We feel that presence as we close our eyes and we take our deep breaths. And we know that God within us is will. We have willingness to allow God to direct our every thought, our every move. And we listen in meditation for the answer. So I invite you right now to think of a challenge that you have. Think of that challenge and surrender it to God's will in you. And know that you are always in grace, and in meditation, you can feel this grace. You can have peace of mind, the peace that passeth understanding. And you can know that the answer that you receive, if it's for the highest good of everyone involved, that is a sign that it's the God answer. Give thanks for the God answer. Give thanks for the circumstance that brings you to the altar right now, where you surrender. And now, as we come out of meditation, feel your Body in the chair, being supported. Go ahead and wiggle those toes and fingers. Give a little stretch as you open your eyes. Oh yeah, nice. And thank you all for being here. Okay, now